Greetings to topics in this one, the COVID Inquiry update, which I submitted yesterday, and have a bit of a general discussion at the end. The confirmation the representations were received, so they've got them. There were some restrictions on the submissions. You could only put in 5 files up to a maximum of 10 megabytes. So I covered the virus, the emergency declaration, the COVID vaccines, and the debt. They're in attachments, as well as the main submission. One of the ones I wanted to cover was public messaging and the role the media played, but I couldn't really fit that in. But that's also being dealt with this ACMA bill, which has been postponed by the PM, which is one of our wins for the year. I'll get to a bit later on. So that's going to be dealt with, certainly, but just not in this inquiry. From what I put in, but hopefully I'm going to read through all of the other submissions. Hopefully someone else has covered it. So the deadline for submissions was yesterday, and of course over the Christmas break it's going to be quiet, and they're going to get back into it in 2024 early. Now, a lot of the content in the submission is contentious, and I've actually covered it in other earlier videos, and YouTube has a tendency to take them down. So because it's quiet over the Christmas break and no one's paying too much attention, I don't want to jump the gun and fire all the bullets off while no one's really looking. So I'm going to wait till 2024 before I start putting videos up, and I'll publish the entire submission, including all those attachments, then as well. And it'll be on Rumble, again, to avoid the YouTube censorship. Once I make available publicly the entire submission, I'm also going to send it off to the media outlets. But again, I'll do that in 2024 when all the prominent media presenters are back from their Christmas break. There's a couple I particularly want them to get it. Take a risk and put up a few snippets. Hopefully YouTube won't take this video down. So this is from the main submission, and I point out that all of the supporting material is from government-regulated media or recognised entities like the WHO or the US government. So that way they can't state that it's just conspiracy theory. It's all evidence-based with all the links. I come out of the blocks pretty hard with my opening statement that COVID intervention, not the virus, I really point that out and stress that. COVID intervention was a catastrophic event in the history of Australia that must never be repeated. And I make a brief mention of what should have been the response, and then I state what their response was and I pick it apart. I also imply that the naming of it SARS-CoV-2 was a bit sneaky because they're trying to tie it to SARS, which is totally different. It had a 9.6% case fatality rate and affected younger people under 45. Be careful what I say here, but it was more akin to just common coronaviruses. In the emergency attachment, I talk about the emergency declaration and how it appears maybe the Constitution was suspended. This was published by the Victorian Parliamentary Library. Again, the links are up there. Those dates there where the figures are under it, they're all the emergency declaration extension dates and cessation dates. And I talk about the inconsistencies, particularly when you look to the right-hand side when it ceased. And I draw attention to that out of one side of their mouth, they're saying, oh, look, it's not mandatory. Of course, it was in a lot of instances. They never use the word compulsory. I'll get into that in my Substack articles that are going to be coming down the track. So this is the way I'm going to structure my videos going forward, is all the relevant topic stuff at the front, so you get all the information you need, and then any of my commentary, thoughts and that I'll put at the end. So if you want to hear them, you can hang around for those, or if you the main thing is you get the information and you can form your own thoughts on that. All right, first order of business, it's that time of year. God, it's gone quick. It only seems like a short time ago I did my Merry Christmas video. Jesus, for 2022. But anyway, Merry Christmas to everyone. Hope you have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. I know I'll be doing my best to do that. And it hasn't been, I'm actually more optimistic at this time of year than I was last year, because a few things happened. First of all, the referendum got knocked over big time, not just oh, it was really close or anything. It was just made really clear. And whatever they said the vote was, I think you could probably double the no vote. And what they reported. And as far as, we had a few other wins. They postponed that ACMA bill. That didn't go through. And look, there's been a lot of nonsense. The Brittany Higgins saga's come back up again. Oh, nobody cares. They have Brittany Higgins on the front of the paper, and at the 7-Eleven I go to get my regular coffee, there's just as many papers with Brittany there as it was at the end of the day as it was at the start. Nobody cares. She scammed us, or they all scammed us, and Lisa Wilkinson's trying to be relevant, that old hag. I may go back to reporting on the news. By the way, I spent all the last couple of weeks and even a month or so, just working on that submission that I've just shown it, and I had to like peg a lot of it back. And I will actually be moving forward focusing on, because I was watching Katie Hopkins. I've been watching a lot of videos lately. She made the prediction, which I think is correct, that the angle they're going to say is that government didn't do enough, and that's going to be their push to then adopt in 2024, May 2024, the international health regulations that hands power over to the WHO. So I'm really going to be focused on that, and I'll be drawing attention to it, even if they're not reporting on it, because I think Katie's right there, and I think our government, they're going to come out with their final conclusions right just before May 2000. You can see it, can't you? Our conclusion is we didn't do enough. We need the WHO. Anyway, we've got to keep going because they're going to have all the submissions up, and I'll be doing videos on other people's submissions and that. So I'm going to be very active in the new year. I'm not sure I'll be covering Brittany. Videos never got too much, understandably, too many views. No one cares. But I may do some relevant news stories that appear in the newspaper, particularly ones that are indicative of where things are going. So, all right, that's pretty much it. So, again, I just reiterate, Merry Christmas to everyone. And I hope, I'm going to really, I've formulated a lot of my articles for the Substack that I've set up. I know I keep people saying, where is it? Where is it? Look, I really didn't want to start publishing on that, and I'll talk more about how I'm going to structure it. It's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to structure it as a journal. I've really put a lot of thought into it. So that's something, look, I'm here for the long term. I don't want to rush into anything. And I'm hopeful that people will appreciate the work and will come along and read some of the articles. But, one of the things I find, I talked with a guy just yesterday, and we're talking about conspiracies and videos and that. And gee, the landscape's changed since COVID, and I think in a good way. I've mentioned before, like my views are down a bit, but I don't think it's the quality of my work. I just think it's the competition, and the competition is there because more people are aware. COVID woke so many people up, and you knew it when, after 6 to 7 months, no one had taken the jab. Just a few old people who were a bit scared, but the general population were just going about their business. What is it? Oh, I'm not that interested. It wasn't until they started, Operation COVID Shield, which I mentioned in the submission in a big way, how they coerced everyone, and everyone's much more aware. I find just general discussion with people that I know, and even just in casual conversation with people, it's so much easier to just start talking about this stuff. People are much more receptive. So, of course, there's a lot more equivalent content makers. So that's actually a good thing. But I think I do niche things, and I always try to cover what other people aren't covering. So hopefully that'll draw people to my channel, and I can keep this going and make as much of a contribution as I can. Okay. That is it for this one. I will be back in 2024.